Hey there, deep divers. Ready for a deep dive into real estate?
Yeah.
Well, today we're headed to Thailand, where a company called Proud is making some waves. We've got this article here from Ocean Worldwide Phuket Real Estate's blog, and it's all about how Proud is kind of shaking things up with this Fitwel certification.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about this is it's not just about, like a company trying to earn a badge or something to slap on their marketing materials. Fitwel comes from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the General Services Administration.
Huge organizations.
I mean, these are organizations rooted in science and public health.
Yeah,
so
it's the real deal.
This certification holds a lot of weight.
It does. And speaking of setting a high bar, get this. Proud's Intercontinental Residences, Hua Hin, is the very first project in Thailand to achieve this Fitwel certification.
Upon completion and move in.
On completion and move in, I should add.
Yeah.
Which means that, residents are walking into a space that's been vetted for its commitment to well-being.
Absolutely.
And it's even a global first for the entire Intercontinental brand.
That's right. A first mover, as they say.
A first mover. Love it. Okay, now, I know we keep saying Fitwel, but for our listener, let's unpack this. What are we talking about here?
So Fitwel is not just about making a building look nice or adding a few amenities that are trendy. It's really a comprehensive standard that looks at how the building's design and how the building is operated impact the health and the well-being of the people who use it.
Gotcha.
So they delve into things like air and water quality, access to healthy food choices, opportunities for physical activity, and even design elements that promote mental well-being.
Okay, wait, hold on. So it's not just about slapping a gym in the basement and calling it a day.
Not even close. One of the things that makes Fitwel stand out from other certifications is that they really emphasize a data-driven approach.
Oh, interesting.
So they're not just saying hey, this looks nice and it feels healthy.
Right.
They're actually looking at research that shows that specific design choices can impact things like your stress levels, your cognitive function, even your sleep quality.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So they're really trying to bridge that gap between design and science.
Yeah. And the fact that it comes from organizations like the CDC and the GSA really lends a lot of credibility to that standard.
For sure. Now, before we get too into the weeds on Fitwel itself, let's bring this back to Proud and what they're doing in Thailand. They keep mentioning this all is well concept.
Right.
What is that all about?
Well, all is well is essentially Proud's overarching philosophy for creating spaces that prioritize resident well-being.
Okay.
It's their way of saying we're not just building properties, we're building communities and lifestyles that support people's physical, mental, and social health.
So it's like their version of a mission statement, but for well-being.
Yeah. And what's interesting is how this concept goes hand in hand with the Fitwel certification.
Yeah.
It's like they've taken the principles of Fitwel and woven them into the fabric of their company culture.
I like that.
And their development approach.
Okay, now I really want to see how this plays out in their projects. This article mentions that they're not stopping with the Intercontinental Residences Hua Hin.
Right.
They've got two more projects, VHA, Hey Hua Hin, and Ram Convent, that are also on track for Fitwel certification.
And they're going even further. They're actually training their teams to become Fitwel ambassadors.
Oh, wow.
So they're really equipping them with the knowledge and skills to champion these principles within the company.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this isn't just a one-off PR stunt for them?
No.
It seems like a strategic shift.
It does.
In how they're approaching development.
It seems that way, and I think that's what makes this story so compelling. We're not just talking about a building that checks a few boxes on a certification checklist. We're talking about a company that's fundamentally rethinking what it means to create spaces that support human thriving.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so I think we need to unpack the specifics of this Fitwel standard a bit more.
Yeah.
What are the key areas they're looking at when they evaluate a building?
That's a great question, and that's exactly where we'll pick up in part 2.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. All right, well, stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Deep Dive. So last time, we kind of left off on a little bit of cliffhanger.
A little bit.
We talked all about this Fitwel certification, and we know that Proud is taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But we haven't really dug into, what it takes to actually achieve that Fitwel stamp of approval.
Right.
So
yeah, let's peel back the layers, see what's underneath. So Fitwel actually has 12 categories they call strategies that cover
Right.
a wide range of aspects of well-being.
Okay.
And these strategies have a bunch of criteria that a building has to meet to earn points towards certification. Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive. So maybe let's just focus on a couple that really highlight what makes Fitwel unique.
Okay, sounds good. Where do you want to start?
Well, since Proud is a residential developer,
Right.
maybe let's start with a strategy that directly impacts the residents' lives,
Right, yeah.
day-to-day lives. So there's one called Reduce Indoor Environmental Quality Hazards.
Yep.
And this one focuses on creating healthier indoor spaces by addressing things like air quality, ventilation, and the use of non-toxic building materials.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
We're spending more and more time indoors these days, so
Uh-huh.
the quality of that indoor environment is super important.
Exactly. And, it's easy to overlook things like air quality, but poor indoor air quality can contribute to a host of health problems,
Right.
from allergies and asthma to headaches and fatigue.
Yeah.
So Fitwel recognizes this and encourages developers to use materials that minimize off-gassing of harmful chemicals to install proper ventilation systems
Mhm.
and even provide resources to residents on how to maintain good indoor air quality.
So it's not just about the construction, it's also about empowering the residents to kind of take ownership over that.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical health either.
Oh, okay.
Fitwel also addresses mental well-being
Uh-huh.
in a way that I find really interesting. There's a strategy called Support Social Equity and Inclusive Design.
Okay.
And this one encourages developers to create spaces that are accessible and welcoming to people of all abilities and backgrounds.
I really appreciate that about Fitwel. It's not just about creating luxurious spaces for the elite.
Right.
It's about making well-being accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. And this strategy goes beyond just wheelchair ramps and accessible entrances.
Right.
They encourage developers to think about things like providing clear signage in multiple languages, designing spaces that are comfortable for people with sensory sensitivities,
Oh, wow.
and even fostering a sense of community by creating opportunities for social interaction and inclusion.
So it's really about designing spaces that are not just physically accessible, but also socially and emotionally welcoming to people from all walks of life.
Precisely. And I think that's a really powerful aspect of Fitwel.
Yeah.
It recognizes that well-being is not just about individual health,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also about creating these inclusive communities where
Yeah.
everyone feels valued and supported.
Awesome. Okay, so we've talked about reduce indoor environmental quality hazards.
Yeah.
We've talked about support social equity and inclusive design.
Mm-hmm.
What other interesting Fitwel strategies are there?
Well, there's one called Increase Physical Activity
Okay.
that focuses on encouraging movement and active lifestyles.
That's a big one. We all know we need to move our bodies more,
Right.
but sometimes our environments make it really difficult.
Right, exactly. So Fitwel encourages developers to think about how they can make physical activity more convenient and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to see things like well-maintained stairwells that are inviting and easy to use,
Right.
walking paths and bike lanes that connect to the surrounding neighborhood,
Yeah.
and even on-site fitness centers or access to nearby gyms.
Yeah, so instead of hiding the stairwell in some dark corner,
Right.
you might put it front and center and make
Yeah.
it look really nice. Maybe pipe in some music to get people to want to take the stairs
Exactly.
instead of the elevator.
I love that.
And Fitwel also looks at access to healthy food options.
Okay.
So they encourage developers to provide things like on-site farmers markets, community gardens,
Yeah?
or even partnerships with local grocery stores that offer healthy choices.
It's all about making those healthy choices the easy choices.
Right.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about Fitwel in general, but I'm really curious to hear how Proud is actually implementing these strategies in their projects.
Me too. Unfortunately, the article doesn't give us a ton of specifics,
Okay.
but we can make some educated guesses based on what we know about Proud's All Is Well concept and their commitment to Fitwel.
Ooh, I love a good educated guess.
So, for example, in terms of reduce indoor environmental quality hazards, we can assume that they're using high-quality building materials that minimize off-gassing.
Right.
And they're probably incorporating plenty of natural ventilation to keep the air fresh.
And knowing Proud's focus on creating a seamless indoor-outdoor living experience,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they incorporated lots of biophilic design elements.
Biophilic design, for those who might not know,
Okay.
is all about incorporating elements of nature into the built environment.
Right, like natural light greenery water features.
Exactly. Anything that connects us to the natural world.
Yeah, and there's tons of research that shows that that can have a really positive impact on our mood, our productivity, and our overall well-being.
Right. So, for example, Proud might incorporate green walls, the rooftop gardens, or even courtyards with water features into their designs.
I love it. And what about in terms of support, social equity, and inclusive design?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they went above and beyond just basic accessibility requirements.
Okay.
So maybe they have community spaces that are designed to be welcoming to people of all ages and abilities.
Or they offer programs and services that cater to the diverse needs of their residents.
Yeah, like really thinking about community building.
Exactly. And when we think about the increased physical activity strategy, I bet they're going beyond just providing a gym.
Right. Maybe incorporating walking trails into the landscaping or designing the buildings in a way that encourages people to take the stairs.
Yeah.
Or even offering fitness classes for residents to get moving together.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
And I bet they're paying close attention to the location of their projects as well.
Oh, yeah.
Are they situated near parks, bike paths, or other amenities that make it easy for residents to lead active lifestyles?
It's really thinking holistically about how the built environment interacts with the surrounding community.
And I bet they're carefully considering access to healthy food options as well.
Yeah.
So this could involve partnering with local farmers to provide fresh produce on site, or maybe they've incorporated community gardens where residents can grow their own food.
It's like creating a whole ecosystem of well-being.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Fitwel, the specifics of it, and how Proud is putting these principles into action. But what I'm really curious about is how this trend toward wellness-focused real estate could impact the bigger picture.
Right.
If more and more developers start prioritizing well-being, what could that mean for our cities, our lives, even our planet?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And it's a topic that deserves its own deep dive.
I like it.
Luckily, that's exactly where we're headed.
Ooh, another cliffhanger.
In part 3.
All right, stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So we spent the last 2 parts of this episode really getting into the nitty-gritty of Fitwel and how Proud is using it over in Thailand. But now it's time for the grand finale.
The big picture.
Exactly. If this trend towards wellness-focused real estate really takes off, what could that mean for our cities, our lives, our planet? This is where it gets really interesting.
You know, I think we're at like a turning point.
Yeah.
For so long, the focus in real estate has just been maximizing square footage, squeezing as many units as possible onto a piece of land, and just, you know, ultimately maximizing profits.
Yeah, the old build it bigger, build it cheaper mentality.
Right, but what if we changed that?
Yeah.
What if we made well-being and environmental sustainability like the main focus of development? Imagine like cities that were designed to foster a sense of community where people can connect with nature, connect with each other.
I love that.
Imagine buildings that nourish our bodies and our minds, reduce stress, promote a sense of peace.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
And the best part is it's not just a dream.
Right?
We're already seeing examples of this in cities all over.
Oh, yeah?
Take Copenhagen, for example. They've become like a cycling paradise.
Yeah.
They have this extensive network of bike lanes and paths.
I've heard amazing things about Copenhagen.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think I read that more than half of their residents commute by bike every day.
That's right. And it's not just about the infrastructure.
Okay.
They've really created this culture that embraces cycling. It's seen as a healthy and enjoyable and sustainable way to get around.
It's like a holistic approach.
It is.
They're not just building bike lanes. They're actually creating this whole system
Exactly.
that supports cycling.
And it's working. I mean, they have some of the cleanest air and the lowest rates of obesity and heart disease.
Really? So it's actually making a difference.
It is. And it's not just physical health either.
Okay.
Studies have shown that people who cycle to work are happier and more productive.
I love that.
Yeah. And Copenhagen's not alone. Cities like Singapore and Vancouver are also doing great things. With sustainable urban design, they're incorporating things like green roofs and vertical gardens and rainwater harvesting systems into their buildings.
So it's like we're starting to see this shift from a me mentality to a we mentality.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected,
Yeah.
and our individual choices impact the health and well-being of our community and the planet.
And realizing that investing in well-being isn't just a luxury.
It's not.
It's actually crucial.
It is. It pays off in terms of our health, our happiness,
Mm-hmm.
and the sustainability of our cities and our planet.
So what can our listeners do? I mean, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by this.
It is, but just remember, every journey starts with one step.
Right.
The first step is awareness.
Mm.
Pay attention to the spaces that you're in.
Yeah.
Notice how they make you feel. Are they bright and airy?
Mm.
Or are they dark and cramped? Do they connect you to nature or isolate you from it?
Yeah. And then once we're aware of that, we can make conscious choices.
Exactly. Choose to live in walkable neighborhoods. Support businesses that prioritize sustainability and well-being. Advocate for policies that promote green building.
Yeah, vote with our dollars and our voices.
That's right. And don't underestimate the power of your own choices.
Mm-hmm.
Make time for nature in your daily life. Walk or bike instead of driving. Create a calming and inspiring space in your home.
Yeah. Small changes can make a big difference.
They absolutely can. And just remember, well-being is a journey. It's not a destination.
Right.
It's about constantly learning and evolving and finding ways to live in greater harmony with ourselves, with each other, and with the planet.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, I think that's the perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive
It's been my pleasure.
into wellness-focused real estate. It's been an amazing conversation.
I agree.
And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this exploration as much as we have. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep pushing for a future where our built environment really supports the well-being of all. Until next time, keep diving deep.